Hello and welcome. Tonight, we invite you to slow your thoughts, settle your body, and rest your mind. You are in a quiet space now, far from busy streets or glowing screens. Here, you are safe to relax, safe to drift. This is a place where stories unfold gently, where history moves at the pace of a deep breath, and where even the smallest, softest things can carry centuries of meaning. Tonight, we explore one of those quiet companions. Something simple, something familiar, something soft, the pillow. Before we begin, if you find comfort in calm explorations like this one, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps keep this peaceful corner of the internet alive. And before you drift off to sleep, we would love to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from tonight? And what time is it where you are? Now, let us begin. To understand the pillow, we begin not in a factory or a bedroom, but in the cradle of civilization. Let us go back more than 9,000 years to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia. This is the region between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, a place often called the birthplace of cities, of writing, and of complex society. Among the early peoples of Mesopotamia were the Sumerians. They built ziggurats, invented cuneiform, and developed irrigation systems that fed the first urban populations. And they slept just like we do. But their pillows were not soft. They were carved from stone. These stone headrests were not mistakes. They were designed deliberately, often shaped to curve slightly to support the neck or cradle the head. Some were simple, and others were ornately carved. They were practical, symbolic, and surprisingly widespread. Comfort was not their main purpose. These pillows served as spiritual protection. In many ancient belief systems, the head was considered sacred. It was believed to house the soul. During sleep, the soul was thought to drift, to travel, or to become vulnerable to spirits and unseen forces. Elevating the head offered a kind of safeguard. It protected the sleeper from crawling insects, damp earth, or spiritual intrusion. Some stone pillows were placed in tombs, suggesting they were part of rituals surrounding the afterlife. Others were used daily by the living. They were found in homes, temples, and burial sites. Even without softness, these ancient headrests carried meaning. They were a fusion of belief, practicality, and tradition. A beginning. Imagine lying down after a long day, resting your head not on feathers or fabric, but on polished stone, cold to the touch, solid beneath you, offering rest not for your comfort, but for your soul. As we move forward in time, we will see the pillows soften, but its journey begins here, in a world of clay and stone, where sleep was sacred and rest required protection. We now journey to the banks of the Nile. The sun is high, casting warm light over temples and papyrus reeds. The air is dry, the river slow and steady. We have arrived in ancient Egypt, in this ancient civilization known for pyramids, hieroglyphs, and elaborate burial rites. The head remained sacred, and once again the pillow wore something like it made its appearance. The Egyptians used an object known as a headrest. Unlike our soft cushions, the headrest was crafted from materials like wood, stone, or ivory. It resembled a miniature stand, often with a wide base and a curved top, just large enough to support the neck. The purpose was both physical and spiritual. Elevating the head helped airflow and protected intricate hairstyles, especially in the heat. More importantly, it held religious meaning. The Egyptians believed that raising the head during sleep helped the spirit move freely and safely. During sleep, the soul might leave the body. A lifted head helped ensure its safe return. These headrests were not just everyday items. They were also part of burial practices. Archaeologists have uncovered elaborately carved headrests placed under the heads of mummies inside tombs. These were not meant for comfort. They were tools for the afterlife. Some headrests were carved with protective deities, such as Base, the guardian of sleep and dreams. Others featured inscriptions intended to ward off evil. Their function was part practical and part magical. Even children in noble families used them. And like many things in Egyptian life, the quality of the headrest often indicated the social status of the sleeper. Ivory for the rich, wood for the rest. Interestingly, wealthier families sometimes wrapped the hard surface of the headrest with fine linens or added small fabric pads. This may be the first recorded attempt to soften the concept of a pillow. Still, softness was not the goal. The focus was protection, posture, and peace in both life and death. It is a reminder that sleep, even in ancient times, was never just sleep. It was a crossing between worlds, and the pillow, or its early cousin, was the bridge. Let us now travel east, beyond deserts and mountains, into the lands of ancient China. Here, the story of the pillow takes on new forms, guided by art, medicine, and philosophy. During the Han Dynasty, around 200 BCE to 200 CE, Chinese pillows were more than sleeping tools. They were objects of beauty, health, and spiritual balance. Many were crafted from hard materials, bronze, wood, porcelain, and most notably, jade. Jade was believed to possess powerful healing properties. It was cool to the touch, durable, and revered for its association with purity and longevity. Pillows made from jade were thought to improve circulation, calm the body, and maintain youthful energy. Some believed that jade pillows helped preserve wisdom or sharpen the senses. In wealthier households, these were prized possessions. Porcelain pillows, on the other hand, offered a canvas for decoration. These were often rectangular blocks with a gentle curve to cradle the neck. Artists painted them with landscapes, flowers, or written verses. Some were adorned with poems about sleep or dreams. Others carried moral sayings or wishes for good health. Some even had small vents or hollow cores to allow airflow. In hot, humid climates, this provided a cooling effect during sleep. Though these pillows were hard, they were not seen as uncomfortable. In fact, many people believed that soft pillows were harmful. It was said that they made the body sluggish or the mind dull. A firm pillow, by contrast, promoted alertness and discipline. Later, dynasties introduced softer materials. During the Tang and Song dynasties, silk pillowcases and cotton stuffing became more common among the upper class. But hard pillows remained widespread, especially among scholars and the elderly. There were also medicinal pillows. These were filled with herbs like chrysanthemum, mugwort, or lavender. The scent was believed to relax the mind or address specific health concerns. Some were even infused with dried orange peel or camphor to open the airways and prevent illness. To sleep on such a pillow was not just restful, it was therapeutic. In the end, pillows in ancient China reflected the society itself, balanced, thoughtful, and layered with symbolism. They offered not just physical support, but philosophical alignment. A soft head might lead to a soft life. A firm head might lead to clarity. Even today, some traditional households still keep a porcelain or wooden pillow as a heritage piece passed down from earlier generations. A quiet reminder of the many ways we have learned to rest. We now move into the classical world. Imagine marble columns, open courtyards, and the gentle lapping of water in a Roman bath. In the ancient civilizations of Greece and Rome, the pillow began to soften. The Greeks were among the first to value comfort in daily life. They built amphitheaters, studied mathematics, and explored the human body in sculpture and medicine. And when they slept, they wanted rest to feel good. Greek pillows, known as proskyphilia, were small cushions often filled with materials like straw, feathers, or wool. They were placed under the head, neck, or even under the arms during reclining. For the wealthy, pillows were signs of refinement. Their homes were adorned with soft furnishings. Decorative cushions lined the benches where they ate, spoke, and read. In symposia or drinking parties, men reclined on couches, supported by pillows as they discussed philosophy, politics, and poetry. Pillows, in this setting, were part of a larger culture of leisure. They provided comfort, but also a sense of dignity. Reclining required posture. Pillows helped maintain it. When the Romans inherited Greek culture, they expanded on it. Roman pillows, or pulvini, were widely used throughout society. In wealthy homes, they were stuffed with feathers and covered in fine linens or embroidered cloth. Pillows came in many sizes. Some were large and square. Others were small and cylindrical. There were travel pillows for use on the road. There were couch pillows for lounging. There were decorative pillows placed around the home, just as we see today. Even pets had pillows. In the ruins of Pompeii, archaeologists have found traces of soft bedding that may have belonged to beloved lapdogs. Cushions placed near hearths or beds suggest that Romans, like us, sometimes spoiled their animals. But comfort was not universal. Poorer citizens, slaves, and travelers often slept on sacks filled with hay or coarse wool. Many simply rolled up their cloaks and used them as makeshift pillows. The availability of a real pillow, soft, clean, and made with care, was a mark of status. Still, it was here in the classical world that the idea of the soft pillow truly took hold. No longer just a protective headrest, the pillow became something associated with sleep, relaxation, and domestic warmth. Roman literature even references the pillow in poetry and plays. The philosopher Seneca wrote about simplicity in sleeping arrangements, but admitted that most people preferred a cushion. Ovid, the poet of love and longing, mentioned resting one's head on soft linen after an evening of wine and flirtation. In the world of Greece and Rome, the pillow was more than a necessity. As the Roman Empire declined and Europe entered the long stretch of the Middle Ages, many luxuries of classical life began to disappear. Roads crumbled, trade slowed, cities shrank, and comfort, too, became harder to find. During this time, the pillow receded from common use. In many parts of medieval Europe, pillows were viewed with suspicion. They were seen as indulgent, even sinful. To rest one's head on something soft was thought by some to be a sign of vanity or weakness. Among religious communities, especially in monasteries, the use of pillows was often discouraged. Monks were taught to sleep on plain wooden boards, sometimes with only a folded cloth or small bundle beneath their heads. To seek comfort in sleep was to distract the soul from devotion. Rest was allowed, but only in moderation. Even among royalty and nobility, pillows were not widespread. A lord might have one or two, stuffed with straw or sheep's wool and covered in linen. These were not always soft. They were meant to elevate the head and support the body, not to cradle in luxury. That said, pillows never disappeared entirely. In wealthier homes, some pillows were embroidered with family crests or stitched with religious phrases. These cushions were often used more for display than for actual rest. Placed on beds, benches, or window seats, they added beauty to otherwise austere surroundings. Textiles during the Middle Ages were valuable. A well-made pillow might be passed down through generations. The fabric would wear, the stuffing might be replaced, but the object itself carried history. Some pillows even served as writing surfaces. People would rest parchment on the firm surface while seated near the hearth, using the cushion to steady their work. Others placed pillows under heavy garments to ease long hours of sitting. The pillow, in this way, became a quiet helper in daily tasks. In castles, bedrooms were large and cold. Stone walls absorbed the chill of winter. Heavy curtains surrounded beds to keep in heat. Pillows added one more layer of comfort, not opulent, not indulgent, but practical. By the late Middle Ages, pillows began to return in greater numbers, especially in Italy and France, where trade and wealth were beginning to flow again. Cushions made of imported fabrics, like silk or damask, started appearing in homes of merchants and scholars. They were still simple, often rectangular, sometimes filled with herbs to mask odors or soothe the mind, but they hinted at what was coming. The pillow, long hidden or discouraged, was beginning to find its way back into the home, into daily life, and into the space where rest once again became a valued part of living. The Renaissance was a time of rediscovery. Art, science, philosophy, and comfort began to bloom once more. In cities like Florence, Paris, and London, wealth flowed again. Trade routes reopened, knowledge moved between cultures, and with it came the return of everyday luxuries, including the humble pillow. As homes became more decorated and personal space became more valued, the pillow reappeared, this time not only as a practical item, but as a symbol of taste. In upper-class households, pillows were often handmade. The fabric could be rich velvet, woven damask, or imported silk. Embroidery became a favorite pastime for noblewomen. A single pillow might take weeks to complete. Some were adorned with golden thread, while others bore religious symbols, floral patterns, or initials of the owner. Pillowcases were not yet common as we know them today. Instead, pillows were sewn shut or wrapped in a cloth that was carefully folded and pinned in place. Some had small ties at the corners. Cleaning a pillow was more complicated then. The fabric was gently brushed or beaten. Occasionally, it was unstitched, so the stuffing could be removed, aired out, and replaced. Feathers became the preferred filling during this time. Goose feathers were ideal, offering a balance of softness and shape. The wealthier the household, the more pillows they had. Beds might feature 2 large bolster pillows running the width of the mattress, with smaller cushions placed on top. Pillows were also used for display. In sitting rooms and libraries, they rested on chairs, window seats, and benches. Some were decorative only, filled with dried herbs like rosemary, lavender, or sage. These served to freshen the air, calm the nerves, or ward off insects. Among the working-class pillows remained modest. Many used sacks filled with straw, wool, or even rags. These makeshift cushions offered little softness, but they gave the head elevation and some comfort during rest. Yet the Renaissance also gave rise to personal expression in the home. Even a simple linen pillow, carefully sewn and passed down through generations, might be embroidered with a family name or the date of a child's birth. In this way, pillows became personal. They carried meaning. Artists of the period often depicted the home in greater detail. In paintings, you might see a pillow tucked beneath a child's head or resting near a cradle. Poets mentioned the act of laying down one's head not as an end to the day, but as an invitation to dream, to reflect, and to hope. The pillow had returned, not just as a tool for sleep, but as an object of beauty, identity, and comfort. By the late 18th century, the world was changing again. The Industrial Revolution had begun, transforming how people lived, worked, and rested. Machines powered by steam now wove cloth, processed cotton, and cut fabric with precision and speed. The pillow entered a new era. Before this time, pillows were made by hand. Each one was unique, created by a seamstress, a family member, or a local merchant. But with mechanized looms and mass textile production, pillows could now be made in large quantities and sold in general stores. Suddenly, people of all classes had access to soft bedding. Factories produced standardized pillow sizes, often filled with feathers, down, or wool. The fabric covers were made from cotton or linen, and some included buttons or ties to allow for easy washing. Pillowcases became more common thanks to improvements in sewing machines and fabric production. For the first time, a clean, removable cover was available to the average household. In cities, department stores displayed pillows alongside mattresses, sheets, and blankets. Middle-class families could walk into a shop and purchase bedding sets matched by color and pattern. Sleep became part of the new ideal of domestic comfort. The feather trade expanded. Ducks and geese were raised not only for food, but also for their plumage. In some regions, entire families worked to clean, sort, and pack feathers for export. But not everyone had access to feathers. In rural areas, straw and wool were still widely used. Some families made their own pillows at home, sewing together fabric scraps and filling them with whatever soft material they could find. In colder climates, animal hair such as horsehair was sometimes mixed with other fibers to create firmer, longer-lasting pillows. The Victorian era, in particular, saw an explosion of interest in domestic life. Books and magazines published advice on bedroom decoration, proper sleep posture, and the health benefits of rest. Pillows were recommended not only for the head, but also for the arms, legs, and back. Some women used small cushions to support themselves while reading or sewing. Men used larger bolsters to ease the strain of long sitting hours. Hygiene also became a focus. Doctors advised regular airing and cleaning of bedding. Pillows were sun-dried to kill mites. Some were dusted with herbs, believed to purify the stuffing. Lavender remained a favorite, praised for its scent and calming effect. By the end of the 19th century, pillows were a standard part of life across much of the Western world. They no longer belonged to kings or monks. They belonged to everyone. Pillows had become part of the daily rhythm of modern life, a tool for comfort, a sign of progress, a quiet symbol of rest. While much of the pillow's modern history unfolded in Europe, the story is far richer when we step outside the Western world. Across continents and centuries, different cultures developed their own unique approaches to sleep, support, and comfort. Let us begin in Japan. In traditional Japanese homes, space was often limited, and sleeping arrangements were simple. People slept on tatami mats with thin futons placed on top. Instead of soft pillows, they used small wooden or ceramic headrests, often filled or topped with a curved fabric pad. These were known as makura. Makura served multiple purposes. They elevated the head, supported the neck, and crucially, preserved elaborate hairstyles. For geishas and other women with ornate coiffures, sleeping on a soft pillow could ruin hours of preparation. The headrest allowed for rest without disturbance. Some makura were filled with grains or rice husks. These created a firm but moldable shape and produced a soft, rustling sound as the sleeper shifted. Others were hollow, crafted from wood or bamboo, and chosen for their coolness in Japan's humid summers. Next, we travel to Africa. Among the Dinka people of South Sudan and several neighboring cultures, headrests are carved from a single block of wood. These pieces are elegant and curved, designed to support the neck. They also serve as stools or even as portable property, carried during travel or herding. These headrests are deeply personal items, passed from generation to generation. They are often carved with distinctive patterns. For many, they symbolize adulthood or the transition to manhood. To sleep on one is not only practical, but also a part of one's identity. In Ethiopia, similar wooden headrests have been used for centuries. Their curved forms match the lines of the body, supporting the sleeper while allowing air to circulate beneath the head. Now, let us move to South Asia. In India, Pakistan, and neighboring regions, the bolster pillow is a common sight. These long, cylindrical cushions provide support for the back, knees, or sides. In hot climates, the shape allows for improved airflow and cooling. Bolsters are often placed at the edges of the bed, hugged during sleep, or used for sitting. In traditional homes, they may be covered with brightly colored cotton fabrics, block printed with floral designs, or geometric patterns. In Southeast Asia, particularly in Thailand and Laos, triangular pillows are common. These folding cushions stack into a pyramid shape, sometimes with a flat base for reclining. They are used for sitting, napping, or relaxing on the floor. The inner filling is firm, often made from kapaka, natural fiber harvested from the seed pods of tropical trees. The kapok-filled pillow is breathable, durable, and resistant to moisture. It offers support while remaining lightweight and portable. In the Middle East, the tradition of floor cushions goes back centuries. Rooms are often lined with long, low pillows placed against the walls. These serve both as backrests and as sleeping supports. In countries like Turkey, Iran, and Morocco, pillows are not confined to beds. They are central to conversation, dining, and hospitality. The fabrics used range from richly woven silks to simple cotton. Embroidery, tassels, and decorative stitching add personality and texture. What becomes clear is this: the pillow is as diverse as the cultures that use it. It adapts. It reflects climate, custom, and belief. Whether made of wood, feathers, herbs, or kapok, the purpose remains the same: to offer rest, to make sleep a little gentler. We now arrive in the modern age. Factories hum with precision. Packaging moves down conveyor belts. Homes are filled with every convenience, and among them sits the pillow, changed once again. By the mid-20th century, the pillow had settled into a familiar shape. In most Western countries, it was rectangular, filled with either feathers or polyester fibers, and covered with a removable pillowcase. But innovation did not stop there. In the 1960s, researchers working with NASA developed a new material. It was designed to improve safety in aircraft seats. This material, known as viscoelastic foam, would become widely known as memory foam. Memory foam reacts to heat and pressure. When pressed, it slowly compresses. When released, it gradually returns to its original shape. This property made it ideal for cushioning, and soon it made its way into pillows. Memory foam pillows offered something new. They contoured to the shape of the head and neck. They promised better alignment, fewer aches, and a more restful night. For side sleepers, back sleepers, or those with neck pain, these pillows were marketed as solutions. Some people embraced them, others found them too firm or too warm. But regardless of preference, memory foam changed expectations. Pillows were no longer passive objects. They were part of sleep science. Manufacturers began designing pillows with specific features. Some had contoured edges to support spinal alignment. Others had cooling gel layers to regulate temperature. Some included cutouts for shoulders or ears. Some could be unzipped and reshaped. Filling materials multiplied. In addition to feathers and foam, there were buckwheat hulls, latex, shredded bamboo, microfiber, and even water. Each claimed benefits: breathability, durability, hypoallergenic properties, or orthopedic support. The shape of pillows changed too. In addition to standard rectangular options, people could now purchase wedge pillows for reading, body pillows for pregnancy, or travel pillows shaped like horseshoes for neck support. Technology entered the bedroom as well. Pillows with built-in speakers became popular for listening to white noise or guided meditation. Others included scent capsules that released lavender, eucalyptus, or chamomile throughout the night. Today, pillows are no longer just for sleep. They are for comfort, for health, for style. They are sold online and delivered in vacuum-sealed bags. Some come with sleep guarantees. Others are backed by ergonomic research. You can test your sleep posture, take quizzes, and be matched with your ideal pillow. What was once a handmade object filled with straw is now a precision-engineered tool. And yet, for all the advances, the goal remains unchanged. When the day ends and the lights are low, the pillow is still there, quiet, steady, waiting to hold your head. We now enter the present day. The modern bedroom is filled with options, and pillows are no longer one size fits all. Instead, we live in what some have called the pillow boom. Walk into any bedding store, scroll through an online marketplace, and you will see just how many types of pillows are available. There are pillows made for side sleepers, back sleepers, stomach sleepers, combination sleepers, and even restless sleepers. Standard pillows remain common, but now there are dozens of variations. Queen-sized, king-sized body-length pillows, knee pillows, wedge-shaped pillows for reading in bed, Cervical pillows for spinal support. Pillows designed specifically for snoring, for pregnancy, or for those who toss and turn throughout the night. The variety is astonishing. There are even pillows designed for people who wear CPAP masks for sleep apnea, with side cutouts to accommodate the equipment. The range of materials has also grown. Some prefer the classic down pillow, soft and breathable, filled with the delicate feathers from the undercoat of ducks or geese. Others opt for memory foam, which conforms to the shape of the head and neck. Latex pillows offer springy, responsive support, while shredded foam pillows allow for adjustability by removing or adding fill. Then there are buckwheat hulls, a traditional Japanese filling that creates a firm, moldable surface. Some prefer kapok fiber, harvested from the seed pods of tropical trees, for its lightweight and silky texture. Others like pillows infused with cooling gel designed to wick away heat during warm nights. The covers themselves have evolved too. Some are made with organic cotton, others with bamboo rayon. Many now feature removable and washable covers, antimicrobial treatments, or moisture-wicking technology. Marketing has followed this expansion closely. Pillows now come with features, promises, and guarantees. Some companies offer 13-night trials or 100-night return windows. Others include smartphone apps that measure sleep patterns and offer suggestions. Online quizzes help customers choose the right pillow. Questions include your preferred sleeping position, mattress type, shoulder width, and body temperature. Based on your answers, the company suggests the perfect pillow for your sleep profile. Even children have custom pillow options. Pediatric pillows are designed to support growing spines. Travel pillows are made in animal shapes or bright colors, creating a fun and familiar bedtime routine. And of course, decorative pillows have multiplied too. Couch cushions, throw pillows, outdoor pillows, and floor pillows come in endless colors, patterns, and textures. Some are filled with recycled materials. Others are designed to be hypoallergenic or peat-resistant. In this age of comfort, the pillow has moved beyond its original function. It is no longer just a place to rest your head. It is an accessory, a wellness tool, a design element, a personal preference. But even with all the options, most people still have a favorite. That one pillow that fits just right. The one that has flattened over time but cannot be replaced. The one that is always brought on trips, even when space is tight. The pillow boom may have given us more choices than ever before, but our connection to comfort remains deeply personal. We search, we compare, we test, and in the end, we find the one that feels like home. Throughout history, the pillow has carried more than just our heads. It has also carried meaning, superstition, and imagination. In nearly every culture, sleep is a time of vulnerability, and pillows, being close to the head and heart, became linked to mysterious forces. In some ancient societies, people believed that dreams were messages from the gods. The pillow, being the point of contact between the sleeper and the earth, was seen as a kind of conduit. In this way, a pillow could attract good dreams or protect the sleeper from bad ones. In Japan, there are old folk tales that describe haunted pillows. These stories speak of pillows that whisper during the night or trap the soul in a cycle of strange dreams. In some versions, the pillow is a trickster, offering beautiful dreams one night and nightmares the next. In medieval Europe, some believed that placing certain herbs inside a pillow could influence what you dreamed about. Lavender and rosemary were used to encourage peaceful rest. Wormwood was sometimes added to bring visions or prophetic dreams. St. John's wort was said to guard against nightmares. Another common belief was that a pillow could absorb emotion. A child's pillow, for example, might hold their fears. A grieving widow's pillow might carry her sorrow. For this reason, some people refused to use another person's pillow. It was seen as too personal, too emotionally saturated. There were also beliefs about where to place the pillow. In some traditions, placing a pillow under the bed or under the feet of a loved one was thought to influence their thoughts or feelings. Others believed that placing a pillow at the head of a dying person helped ease their passage into the afterlife. Superstitions about pillow direction also existed. In certain parts of the world, it was considered unlucky to sleep with your head pointing west. In other places, the direction of the pillow was aligned with the cardinal points to promote balance or spiritual alignment. Children's customs are perhaps the most enduring. The tooth fairy tradition is well known in many cultures. A child loses a tooth and places it under their pillow at night. By morning, it has been replaced by a coin or small gift. The origins of this tradition vary, but it speaks to a long-standing belief that the pillow is a place of exchange, a place where something small and personal transforms overnight. There are also tales of placing a photo or a letter beneath a pillow to dream of a lost loved one or to receive guidance in a difficult decision. Some people still believe that sleeping with a particular object under the pillow, such as a crystal, a prayer, or a charm, can offer clarity or protection. These myths remind us that the pillow, for all its softness, has never been just an object. It is a boundary between waking and sleeping, between the physical and the unseen. It is a place where emotions are felt, memories are stored, and dreams are born. As we rest, we trust our heads to the pillow, and through that simple act, we enter a space where stories begin. Soft as they are, pillows have made their way into countless stories, paintings, and poems. Across cultures and generations, they have appeared not just as objects of comfort, but as symbols of intimacy, vulnerability, and care. In fairy tales, pillows are often enchanted. One well-known example is The Princess and the Pea, where a royal bed includes 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds just to detect a single pea hidden underneath. The story is whimsical, but it speaks to the cultural belief that pillows signify sensitivity and refinement. In poetry and literature, pillows are frequently mentioned during moments of sorrow, longing, or reflection. A character may lay their head on a pillow, not simply to rest, but to cry, to dream, or to remember. The pillow becomes a quiet companion in the solitude of the night. In paintings, particularly those from the Renaissance and Baroque periods, the pillow often appears in scenes of domestic life or religious imagery. A child rests upon a soft cushion, or an angel reclines against what looks like a cloud but shaped like a giant pillow. Pillows were also included in portraits to signal wealth. A carefully embroidered cushion at the side of a noblewoman or beneath the arm of a sleeping infant was not just decoration. It was a sign of status, a way of saying, "We have comfort in this home." In religious art, pillows sometimes symbolize divine rest. In depictions of the Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus, the child is often shown resting on soft bedding, highlighting tenderness and safety. Writers have also explored the symbolism of the pillow. In classic love poetry, a pillow is the place where thoughts drift toward a distant lover. In lullabies, it is the boundary between waking life and the peaceful unknown. In diary entries and novels, it often appears during moments of transition when characters move from worry to sleep or from dream to waking. Even modern media continues this theme. In film, a pillow might catch a tear. In television, a character's troubled night is shown through restless turning, their pillow flipped and folded, unable to offer rest. Whether in word or image, the pillow is more than just a background item. It is often the emotional anchor in quiet moments, a soft constant in stories of change. Despite their quiet nature, pillows have long been associated with joy and playfulness. One of the most universally understood forms of this is the pillow fight. There is no confirmed origin for the pillow fight. It does not appear in ancient texts or early histories, yet almost every child in every culture seems to understand the impulse. When sleep is delayed, when energy is high, and when softness is abundant, pillows become the perfect object for harmless, giggling chaos. A pillow fight is rarely just about striking someone. It is about bonding, about testing limits without real risk, about letting off steam in a space where it is safe to be silly. Parents sometimes join in, siblings compete, friends laugh until breathless. The feathers fly, the laughter grows, and somehow the pillow made for stillness becomes part of movement. In modern times, pillow fights have gone beyond bedrooms. Some cities host organized events. People gather in public parks, often with strict rules. Only soft pillows allowed, no zippers or buttons, and respect others' space. World Pillow Fight Day, observed in April, has seen participants flood downtown areas with fluffy weapons. What starts as a playful exchange often ends in wide smiles and scattered feathers drifting through the air. These events, though temporary, remind us that play is not reserved for childhood, that even in adult life there is joy in softness and fun in the unexpected. Then there is the pillow fort, a different kind of play, one that is quieter but just as meaningful. Pillow forts begin with furniture chairs, couches, coffee tables, and a stack of blankets and cushions. Drape the blankets, stack the pillows, create a space within a space, a private world built with care. For children, the pillow fort is a castle, a spaceship, or a secret hideout. It is a place to whisper, to dream, or to pretend. For adults, it can be a sanctuary, a nostalgic return to simpler times, a cozy place to nap, to read, or to escape for a few moments. Inside a pillow fort, time slows down. The light is dim, the walls are soft, and the world feels far away. Whether in a mock battle or a quiet fort, the pillow serves as a bridge. It connects people. Through it, laughter is shared, memories are made, imagination is sparked. These playful uses remind us that pillows are not only for sleep, they are part of our emotional lives. They bring us together in moments of joy, silliness, and comfort. Let us take a moment now to look back at the soft, quiet path we have followed. From carved stone to cooling memory foam, the pillow has changed more than most of us ever imagine. It began as a firm headrest in ancient Mesopotamia, a tool not of comfort but of protection. In Egypt, it supported the soul on its journey through the afterlife. In China, it carried symbols of health and wisdom, crafted from jade or porcelain. In Greece and Rome, it softened and found its way into the daily rhythm of reclining, rest, and poetry. The Middle Ages pushed it into hiding, where it survived in monasteries and royal chambers. Then the Renaissance revived its beauty, and the Industrial Revolution gave it to the world. From Japan's lacquered makura to the cylindrical bolsters of India, from triangle pillows in Southeast Asia to feather cushions in European parlors, the pillow became a global tradition shaped by climate, culture, and craft. In the modern age, it expanded into science and commerce, comfort and customization. With each new material, each ergonomic shape, the pillow became not just a support for the body, but a carefully designed companion for rest. We have seen how pillows enter our stories, in fairy tales and religious paintings, in dreams and rituals, in pillow fights and forts. They are there, in joy and sorrow, in grief and in comfort. They hold our heads, but they also hold memories. A favorite childhood cushion, a borrowed pillow on a trip far from home, a gift from a loved one, a hand-stitched piece passed down through a family. For some, a pillow is just fabric and fill. For others, it is the object closest to them during sleep, the one thing trusted to cradle the most vulnerable part of the body every single night. When all else is quiet and the lights are low, the pillow is still there, waiting, holding its shape, offering its support. It does not ask anything in return. And tonight, as you prepare to sleep, perhaps you will notice the weight of your head, the softness beneath it, the slight shift of fabric as you exhale. Perhaps you will remember a moment from this story, or perhaps you will forget everything, and that is perfectly fine too. This is not a story that asks to be remembered. It asks only to keep you company as you drift into rest. If you are still awake, thank you for listening. We hope this story has brought you comfort, curiosity, or maybe just the space to relax your mind. You are welcome to leave a comment and let us know where you are tuning in from. And if you would like more quiet stories like this one, feel free to subscribe and visit again soon. For now, we wish you a restful night, good night, and sweet dreams. Edith Cavell was born in December of 1865 in the gentle English village of Swardston. The countryside there rolled with green fields and tidy trees, and her family lived in a modest but cheerful vicarage. Her father was the local vicar, a man of calm faith and quiet strength. He and Edith's mother raised their children with warmth and a strong sense of duty. They believed deeply in kindness, modesty, and the quiet importance of helping others, values that would stay with Edith for the rest of her life. She spent her early days walking along hedgerows, sketching flowers, and reading books under the soft Norfolk skies. There was nothing dramatic about her childhood, but it was filled with gentle purpose, a life shaped more by stillness than by noise. As a young woman, Edith worked briefly as a governess, including a time spent in Belgium. But it wasn't until she returned to England to care for her sick father that she discovered her true calling. At the age of 30, which was considered late for the time, Edith entered nursing school at the London Hospital. She trained under matron Eva Lux, one of the great reformers of modern nursing. The work was exhausting and the hours long, but Edith approached it with quiet determination. She was not flashy or boastful. Instead, she moved gently, learned steadily, and became known for her calm competence. Even then, she seemed to carry a kind of quiet authority, not because she demanded attention, but because she was simply always there, doing what needed to be done. In 1907, Edith returned to Brussels to help establish Belgium's first training school for nurses. At that time, formal nursing was still new in much of the world. Hospitals were often run by religious orders or lacked modern standards. Edith helped change that. She brought discipline, compassion, and a deeply human sense of care. Her students remembered her not only as a teacher, but as someone who walked with quiet grace. She believed that a nurse's role was to care for all people equally, no matter their status, nationality, or belief. By the time the First World War began in 1914, Edith Cavell had become a respected figure in European nursing. Her life, though quiet and far from the battlefield, was about to take a very different turn. When war came to Belgium in the summer of 1914, the world changed quickly. German forces advanced swiftly across the countryside, and soon Brussels fell under occupation. The city grew quiet. Streets emptied, shop shutters closed, and the air carried the weight of uncertainty. Edith Cavell, who had been on leave in England, returned almost immediately to Brussels. She felt her place was at the nursing school with her students and her patients. Even as other foreigners left the country, Edith stayed behind. In the quiet halls of the Birkendale Institute, she and her nurses continued their work, treating wounded soldiers, regardless of their nationality, German or Allied. All were cared for with the same calm attention. But beneath the calm surface, something more dangerous was beginning to stir. As the months passed, resistance movements began to take shape. The war was no longer only about open battlefields. It was now also about quiet acts of defiance, hidden papers, and secret paths to freedom. Edith was approached by members of a Belgian underground network who were helping Allied soldiers trapped behind enemy lines. Many of these men had been wounded or separated from their units and were desperately trying to find their way to the neutral Netherlands. Edith did not seek out the work, but when asked for help, she quietly said yes. It began simply with shelter and food, but soon her role grew. She used her clinic as a safe house, giving the men civilian clothes and instructions, and arranging for their escape with others in the network. It was quiet, careful work, and it was incredibly dangerous. All the while, Edith continued her public nursing duties. To the outside world, she was still the dignified matron of a peaceful hospital. But behind the scenes, she was helping to guide more than 200 soldiers to safety, each one a quiet act of courage, done without fanfare or recognition. Her belief remained steady, that all lives were equal, and that her duty was to humanity, not to the divisions drawn by war. But the risks were growing. German intelligence had begun to suspect something, and soon Edith Cavell's quiet resistance would come to light. By the summer of 1915, the quiet resistance in Brussels was beginning to unravel. The German occupation authorities, ever more watchful, had started to uncover the underground networks operating in the city. Names were passed along through interrogations. Papers were found. Arrests began. On the 12th of August, Edith Cavell was arrested at the nursing school. The soldiers came quietly, but the moment was heavy. She was taken to St. Gilles prison, a cold, gray place of isolation. There, in a small cell with bare walls and little comfort, Edith was kept alone. Interrogations followed, and Edith, in her calm and honest manner, answered their questions directly. She did not try to hide her actions. She admitted that she had helped Allied soldiers escape. She even gave details, believing that the truth would be respected. She did not plead for herself. She simply explained that she had acted on her belief in mercy and in the sacred duty of helping those in need. The German military authorities, however, saw things differently. To them, helping soldiers escape was treason, an offense punishable by death, even for a foreign national. Edith's admission, while honest, sealed her fate. She was tried by a military court in early October. The trial was swift. There was no defense attorney in any modern sense, no opportunity to explain her motives. Within days, the verdict was read: guilty. The sentence: execution. News of the trial spread quickly beyond Belgium. Diplomats from Spain and the United States, both neutral nations, pleaded with German authorities for clemency. Appeals were made, letters sent, but the decision stood. In those final days, Edith was calm. She received visits from a British chaplain, Reverend Sterling Gahan, to whom she spoke plainly. She said she was not afraid. She had tried to help others. She had acted from conscience. On the night of October 11th, she wrote letters to her family. She asked that her loved ones be told that she was at peace, that she was thankful for a life of purpose. Early the next morning, as the skies were still dark, Edith Cavell was led to the Tier National Firing Range. It was quiet. The soldiers present carried out their orders with solemn expression. There was no spectacle, only silence. She faced the end as she had lived her life with dignity, with stillness, and with unwavering calm. After her death, the world paused. News of Edith Cavell's execution spread quickly across Europe and beyond. The reaction was one of shock, sadness, and quiet reverence. In Britain, churches rang their bells, flags were lowered. In towns and cities, strangers gathered in silence, moved by the stillness of her courage. She had not carried a weapon. She had not fought on a battlefield, but her actions, quiet, steady, and deeply humane, had become a symbol. Edith Cavell was remembered not only for her bravery, but for her gentle insistence that kindness must not be silenced by war. In the years that followed, memorials were built in her name. In London, near Trafalgar Square, a tall stone monument stands with her likeness, calm and composed. At the base is a simple quote taken from her final words: "Patriotism is not enough. I must have no hatred or bitterness for anyone." That phrase, softly spoken, has echoed across generations. Her body was returned to England after the war. In 1919, a state funeral was held at Westminster Abbey, attended by soldiers, nurses, and dignitaries. She was then laid to rest near Norwich Cathedral, close to the quiet countryside of her birth. Her story has been taught in classrooms, honored by nurses, and remembered in the fields where wars once raged. But beyond the history books and ceremonies, what endures is her example: a life lived in quiet service, and a heart that remained steady even in the darkest hour. Today, more than a century later, her name continues to remind us that compassion can be brave, that even in war there is room for mercy, and that the strongest acts of courage are sometimes the softest. Edith Cavell did not seek fame. She simply believed in doing what was right, quietly and without expectation. And in that quiet, she left behind a legacy that still whispers to us now, like wind through the hedgerows of Norfolk. In the early 1950s, as war unfolded across the Korean peninsula, distant nations heard the call for help. Among them was the Philippines, a young republic, recently independent, still healing from its own wounds of war. Yet, when the United Nations requested support, the Philippines quietly stepped forward. The response came through Republic Act 573, passed in 1950. It authorized the deployment of the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea, soon known by the gentle acronym PEFTOC. These soldiers were not adventurers. Most were farmers, sons, clerks, students. Many had fought during World War II, resisting the Japanese occupation of their homeland just a few years earlier. Their memories of war were recent and raw. And yet they volunteered, not for conquest, but to stand in solidarity, to help protect a faraway people who, like them, had been caught in the tides of a war they did not choose. The first to arrive was the 10th Battalion Combat Team in September of 1950. They disembarked at the port of Busan under cool skies and heavy coats. They were the first Asian country to send combat troops under the United Nations command in Korea. Though small in number, they carried with them a quiet dignity, their motto, "Steady on." The Filipino soldiers quickly earned a reputation for bravery and calm resolve. In the village of Mudong, just weeks after arrival, they encountered enemy tanks. Rather than retreat, a young crew, led by First Sergeant Maximo Young, used their own Sherman tanks to destroy 4 enemy vehicles. It was PEFTOK's first victory, carried out not with noise, but with silent resolve. These early days were marked by long marches through unfamiliar hills, cold nights in scattered shelters, and friendships formed across languages. The Filipino troops were thousands of kilometers from home, but their letters often spoke of their shared hopes with the Korean people, for peace, for rebuilding, for safe return. Their presence was not grand in scale, but their commitment was firm. Quietly, the Filipino soldiers dug trenches, manned outposts, and moved forward. With each passing week, they became not just foreign fighters, but protectors of a land that had begun to feel strangely familiar. They were guests in Korea, but they served as if it were their own. The spring of 1951 arrived quietly in Korea, but the quiet would not last. As April deepened, the skies grew heavy, and the hills around the town of Yultong began to stir with movement. Chinese forces, in vast numbers, were preparing for a powerful offensive, one that would test every line, every soldier, and every moment of resolve. The 10th Battalion Combat Team of the Philippines was stationed near Yultong, alongside forces from Puerto Rico, the United States, and South Korea. They were fewer than 1,000 men. Across the hills, more than 15,000 Chinese troops were preparing to strike. The attack began late on the night of April 22nd. Under cover of darkness, the Chinese launched a coordinated assault, aiming to break through the United Nations line. Waves of soldiers moved swiftly and silently. Soon, gunfire lit the night, and the fields around Yultong erupted in sound. But the Filipino soldiers did not falter. Through the chaos, they held their ground, fighting not with fury, but with steadiness. Their discipline, shaped by earlier battles and years of hardship, allowed them to move calmly through the noise. Officers gave quiet commands. Wounded were tended by their comrades. Ammunition was passed down the line. Then came one of the most remembered moments in PEFTOK's history. A Filipino unit, isolated and in danger of being overrun, was facing collapse. Captain Conrado Yap, commander of the tank company, made a decision that would echo through history. He led a counterattack to rescue the trapped men. not just to hold the line, but to bring their comrades home. The assault was fierce. Bullets struck steel and earth. Yet Yap moved forward, leading his men across open ground with calm determination. They reached the stranded soldiers, pushed back the enemy, and covered their withdrawal. In the process, Captain Yap was killed. His sacrifice was honored by the Philippines, the United States, and South Korea. But those who served with him remembered something quieter, the stillness in his voice as he gave the order to move, the way he looked after his men, even in the most desperate hour. By dawn, the battlefield around Yultong was marked by silence once more. The Chinese assault had been blunted. The Filipinos had held their ground. The 10th BCT suffered losses, dozens killed, many more wounded, but their line had not broken. And in holding it, they had helped prevent a larger collapse that might have changed the course of the war. To many, it was just another battle in a long war. But to the men of Peftok and to the people of the Philippines and Korea, it became a quiet symbol of courage, not loud, not boastful, but steady, just as they had always promised. Long after the final battles of the Korean War faded into memory, the story of the Filipino soldiers who served under Peftok continued, not through grand parades, but through quiet remembrance. From 1950 to 1955, 5 Philippine battalion teams rotated through Korea. In total, more than 7,400 Filipino soldiers answered the call. They fought in critical battles, guarded outposts, and supported the broader efforts of the United Nations. But in between the moments of danger, they also offered kindness, sharing meals, caring for civilians, and leaving behind small human gestures that were remembered long after. When they returned home, many resumed modest lives as farmers, teachers, and public servants. Some carried the physical and emotional weight of war. Others spoke little of their experiences, preferring to let time smooth the memories. But wherever they went, the values they carried with them, duty, discipline, and quiet compassion, shaped the communities they returned to. In South Korea, their service has not been forgotten. Monuments honor them in Yeoncheon County, near the site of the Battle of Yultong, and in the city of Goyang, where the Philippine-Korea Friendship Center stands as a symbol of enduring respect. Each year, the Philippine Embassy in Seoul joins Korean officials in commemorations. Wreaths are laid, flags are raised, and moments of silence stretch gently across fields that once echoed with conflict. South Korea's Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs has formally recognized the role of the Philippine forces, expressing deep appreciation for their service. Through these acts of remembrance, the two countries maintain a bond shaped not only by history, but by mutual gratitude. Today, that friendship endures. Thousands of Filipinos now live and work in Korea. Korean travelers visit the Philippines, drawn by its warmth and beauty, and both nations continue to build bridges through education, culture, and the quiet recognition of a shared past. The story of Peftok is not told loudly. It is told in letters left behind, in silent memorials, in the respectful nod of a diplomat, and in the quiet strength of a veteran standing in reflection. They came not as conquerors, but as companions, and in doing so, they helped shape a peace that still holds. Steady on, they said, and quietly they were. In the quiet village of Houderivs, nestled among the rolling fields and stone cottages of southeastern France, lived a man named Ferdinand Cavell. He was not known for greatness or spectacle. In fact, he was considered quite ordinary, a rural postman, a simple man who walked. Each morning, Cavell would lace up his worn shoes, collect his leather satchel of letters, and set off on his daily route. He walked alone for miles, nearly 30 kilometers a day, along dirt paths and grassy edges, past farms, stone walls, and rustling hedgerows. The rhythm of his work was gentle, dependable, and unchanging. The year was 1879. Ferdinand was 43 years old. By then, he had already lived through hardship. He had left school early, lost a wife, buried children. His life, though quiet, had not been free of sorrow, but he carried on. Every day, the path called him. One morning, as he moved along his usual route, something unusual happened. He tripped over a strange stone, not sharp, but smooth, rounded, and peculiar. It looked like it had been shaped, almost sculpted, by time itself. He picked it up, examined it, turned it in his hand. It reminded him of something, though he could not say what. It was just a rock, but to Cavell, it sparked something quiet and unexpected. That night, he took the stone home and placed it beside his garden. The next day, on his walk, he found another, then another, without quite knowing why. He began collecting them, piling them at home like seashells gathered from the edge of a long, invisible tide. He had no training as an artist, no background in architecture, no permission, and yet, somewhere between the postmarks and the path, a dream began to take root, not a loud one, a slow one, a private one. In the heart of the French countryside, one of the world's most curious buildings was about to begin. Quietly, patiently, one stone at a time. Each morning, Ferdinand Cavell set out on his postal route, as always, leather bag on his shoulder, steady steps on the gravel paths. But now, something had changed. His eyes searched the ground, not just for letters and friendly nods, but for stones. He began bringing them home in his pockets. When that grew too small, he carried a basket. Eventually, he added a wheelbarrow to his daily rounds. Villagers noticed, puzzled. Why was the postman hauling rocks? But Ferdinand knew. In his mind, the image had grown clear. A dreamlike palace, shaped not by plans or blueprints, but by imagination. He had seen it in his sleep, or perhaps somewhere in memory. A blend of temples, grottos, and towers, with shapes that curved and spiraled like vines and coral. He began to build. Behind his simple home in Headrests, on a plot of land barely wide enough for a garden, he mixed mortar, arranged stones, and shaped cement by hand. He worked after hours, at night, or before dawn. He labored alone. There were no machines, no crew, just the postman and his wheelbarrow. Little by little, the structure took form. Over months, then years, small walls became arches, columns rose, staircases twisted. Animals carved from stone and shaped by time appeared alongside birds, giants, mythical creatures. Inscriptions dotted the walls, blending poetry, scripture, and messages of peace. The villagers laughed at first. Some called it foolish, others looked away. But Ferdinand did not build for praise. He built for something quieter. The joy of creation, the stubborn pursuit of a vision that had taken root in his heart. As the years passed, the structure grew into something astonishing. It was called the Palais, the ideal palace, a place made not of marble or grandeur, but of everyday stones touched by patience. Ferdinand worked this way for 33 years. From 1879 to 1912, he was no longer young, but his hands kept shaping, his wheelbarrow kept rolling, and his spirit remained unshaken. By the time he placed the final stone, he was 76 years old, and still no architect had come. No master builder had drawn plans. Only the postman, quiet, patient, steady. In the early years, as the stone palace grew behind Ferdinand Cavell's modest home, many in the village laughed. It was unusual, even absurd. A postman building a palace with his bare hands, mixing cement by lantern light, carving animals and towers into the countryside. It was a curiosity, a spectacle, something whispered about on market days. But Cavell didn't build for applause. He built because the vision would not leave him, and because every stone he laid down made the quiet of his heart a little more steady. By the time the palace was complete in 1912, the laughter had faded. What stood in its place was something that defied explanation. The palais, the ideal palace, was a blend of fantasy, natural wonder, and tireless craft. With its intricate walls, spiral staircases, and carved pillars, it looked as though it had grown out of the earth itself. Word began to spread. Artists came, poets, architects, and dreamers. The surrealist Breton would later praise Cavell's work as an early example of outsider art, art made outside the world of institutions and rules. In 1924, Cavell was even visited by the renowned artist Pablo Picasso, but by then, the postman was growing old. He had already begun another dream, building his own tomb in the village cemetery. When he found that local authorities would not allow his body to rest inside the palais, he quietly began a second structure, known today as the Tombeau du Silence et du Repos sans fin, the tomb of silence and eternal rest. Ferdinand Cavell died in 1924 at the age of 88. He was buried in the tomb he built for himself, just as he had hoped. Years later, in 1969, the Palais was declared an official cultural landmark by the French Ministry of Culture. It is now protected as a historic monument, one of the few examples of naive architecture recognized at a national level. Today, the palace remains standing. Visitors from around the world walk its corridors, trace its carvings, and pause in the hush of its strange beauty. And somewhere in the silence, many of them feel something familiar, the slow, patient rhythm of a dream made real, stone by stone. It is a place that reminds us that greatness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it walks softly, carries a letter bag, pushes a wheelbarrow, and believes